Welcome to this PayTrace webinar. My name is Sam Johnson. If you are newer to PayTrace webinars, we're going to go over some quick housekeeping on what to expect on today's session. PayTrace webinars are usually 30-minute sessions to give you some insight into not only PayTrace, but just the industry, some best practices with payments, and it's a good way for you to grow your education base. Today's webinar is this is actually one of our newer webinars. This is on Visa's new CEDP program and the PayTrace product list. We've got a lot of really good information to share with you, some information that's kind of always evolving, it seems like recently. So this will be a fun one. Now, you will notice if you are logging into the live session, you are muted, cameras off. As much as I love having direct interaction with all of our partners and clients, this is a big session today, so you are muted. That's okay. It doesn't mean that we don't want to encourage dialogue. If you have questions, comments, or emotional outbursts over the next 30 minutes, please open up the little Q&A panel on your Zoom screen and you can send in your questions there. We're going to carve out probably about 5 minutes at the end of today's presentation to tackle some of those. And I'll give you some contact information on how you can get a hold of me and the rest of the PayTrace team if you do have any sort of additional follow-up. So without further ado, let's take a look at today's agenda. So we're going to go over what exactly is this Visa CEDP thing that we've been hearing about in this space for the last few months. And with that, we're going to get into a bit of a timeline on really what's occurred up until now, and then where do we see this going into the future. From there, we're going to look at how PayTrace is responding and addressing to some of these new changes that have been rolled out by Visa, primarily around our tool that we've launched called the PayTrace product list. So I'll actually take a couple minutes, carve out, and we're going to do a demo. Very timely as of this recording. We actually just had a new feature enhancement that rolled out, I believe, yesterday. So this is very kind of bleeding edge stuff that we're going to be showing today. And then lastly, we're going to get into some time for some questions, some Q&A, and some next steps. So if you are a merchant of ours, what can you do to make sure everything's set up the best? And if you are a sales partner of ours, what can you do to stay proactive on your accounts and make sure that everybody's doing things to the best of their abilities? So let's get into it. Visa CEDP, what is this? CEDP, it's another acronym. Our industry loves acronyms. It stands for Commercial Enhanced Data Program. And what this is an initiative that Visa rolled out. They announced this actually almost a year ago to the day. This was back in November of 2025 is when we first learned of this. The background of this, it all revolves around level 2 and level 3 processing. If you're not familiar with level 2 and level 3, it's basically a program that Visa and MasterCard both have around their business to business and business to government credit card transactions. And this is a program where merchants have the capability of providing additional enhanced and line item data on those transactions, right? More information for Visa that essentially, will get remitted by the banks to the customers. Um, really just more information on those transactions. With that said, when merchants submit that data, they are essentially qualifying for a lower interchange rate, saving money on their credit card transactions. Well, what Visa has found is that they've identified that there's a lot of fraudulent information that's being sent in through this level 3 program. So what they're doing is they're using the magic of AI technologies to scrub this data and make sure that it is correct, it is authentic, it is verified, um, so that merchants are really staying above board and doing things the right way. So what has done with the industry is that there's a lot of merchants and technologies out there that have been doing things that are more of kind of like kind of putting in some dummy data or doing right, putting in ones and zeros, as people will say, just to get the rates without the benefit of the correct data. So what Visa's doing is when this data is being sent in, their AI is looking at it and either giving the thumbs up saying this is good or the thumbs down saying this is not good. So they've created this verified status for merchants that if they send a month's worth of data, that is in Visa's terms correct and accurate, that they will be verified and that they will have access into this level three program, these level three rates. If they are unverified, they will not have access to these rates. So that's kind of the history, the background, and the why of this program and why it's out there. One other thing to notate on that is because this is kind of a big announcement and it was like a bit of a panic moment when I first heard this, but they're also eliminating eventually, not today, but they're going to be eliminating their level two program completely. Um, which for those of you that are kind of interchange rate junkies like me, you know that a lot of these cards are only eligible for level two, right? Specifically Visa business credit cards. With that said, it's not completely like just no, these cards are not going to have access to any sort of beneficial rates. While level two is technically being eliminated, all these cards that were eligible for level two previously will be eligible for level three moving forward. So it's actually, when you look at it, it's going to be a net positive. Later on in this presentation, we're going to see some tables on some of the rates and what those look like, so you can get an accurate depiction on kind of what the overall difference is going to look like. So let's go ahead and talk timelines, right? Because this has actually been around. I will say the program itself, the implementation of it hasn't been around for a long time, but it's been in the works for some time. So this was announced last year in 2020. I might have misspoke earlier, 2024. Um, in April is when Visa started reviewing the data. So basically, all the level two and level three data that's coming through their network, they started running it through their AI to make sure that this is correct and accurate and real. That was back in April. Now, they weren't necessarily doing anything. There were no rate implications at that time when this was implemented. This was Visa's time to start leveraging their resources and start reviewing the data so that in October of this year, these changes could be put into effect, and then it could be kind of a smooth transition. So during this gap, this essentially 6 month gap between April and October, merchants had the ability to start becoming verified. If they started sending over a month's worth of data that was correct, they could get kind of the thumbs up. I like to think of it like the verified check mark that you see on social media, um, saying that this is good. So that when October did hit and these rates started changing, that these merchants could access it right away. They wouldn't have to have a month's worth of look back from October to November. So, October of this year, a month ago as of this recording, new level three interchange rates went into play, and then Visa started actually applying this verification status. Now, looking forward into the future, I mentioned earlier the elimination of level two. This next kind of card brand enhancements in April of 2026 is when that's going to be taking place. So um, level two will be discontinued. Again, doesn't mean that merchants can't access those rates. That's just going to shift to level three, meaning that more data needs to be provided. But with that, rates are going to essentially go down for those transactions as well. Now, with that said, that's Visa's timeline. We've been in the midst of this for a while. What has PayTrace been doing about that, right? Because for those of you that know PayTrace and have worked with us for a long time, you know that, right, a majority of our merchants are doing level two and level three today. So this could potentially have a big impact on them. So rather than taking kind of the wait and see if this really happens approach, we've been very proactive about addressing some of these changes. All for the better, right? We want to make sure that the data that we're sending is compliant with Visa and that our merchants and their customers are getting the most value out of level three. So pretty much since the time of the announcement last year, we went all hands on deck to make sure that what we were doing was correct. And with that, we did identify some areas that we could improve. So, back in August, we actually introduced a new feature. Many of you probably saw it on your accounts or your merchants' accounts, called the PayTrace product list. And this is a new feature that we're using really to replace our old legacy automated level three tools to make sure that this was in line with what Visa wants. So, Product list rolled out in August of this year. That gave us plenty of time for all of our merchants to start getting in the better information so that when October rolled around, they could be verified. Right. So hopefully by this time, if you are an existing customer or partner of ours, right, all of your accounts are in that verified status. You can definitely check with the processing networks or the processor to make sure that they are getting that verification status. But early feedback that we've gotten is that everything is qualifying as we'd expect it to, which is good. Um, so August we rolled this out. That gave us a good month or two before October, and then October of this year is when we started seeing some of those rate adjustments. Now, we have not been quiet about this. Like I said, we've been proactive. We have a ton of resources and education things that you can tap into. We've done multiple blog posts on the CEDP. So for anybody that wants more information than kind of my high level explanation, I definitely want to point you over to those resources. And we also have an FAQ section, right? Frequently asked questions around CEDP. We've been getting tons of questions from our partners and customers about, well, what do we do? What is this? Do I need to be worried about it? So we have kind of a landing page with all that information. And then on top of that, we've got some user guides. So I'm actually going to hop over into my internet browser here just to show you some of these things. We have user guides on here. These are long form, right? We are super descriptive on all this stuff. So for those of you that are more technical, again, this isn't technical. It's probably one of the most user-friendly things that we've built, but we've got a lot of documentation on this. If you aren't subscribed to our blog today, subscribe, right? Somehow you got to this webinar. So I think a lot of the folks on this live webinar are already subscribed to our blog. But this is where we post new product updates, new industry best practices, new education courses that we're rolling out. So on here, you can see we've got a couple blog posts regarding CEDP, right? All this good information on here. And this is something that you can share out with the world, right? Make sure that everybody that you work with is also equally as informed as you are. Um, and then the FAQ section, right? We've got a lot of frequently asked questions. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of these questions here today, which I'm more than happy to answer live, but definitely recommend you taking a few minutes to work through this so you can have your questions answered. Okay, so we've got a lot of resources here. If any of you want any of these resources, they're not hard to find, but you can always reach out to our team. Like I said, I'll provide some contact information at the end of this webinar. So, with that said, I kind of teed up the product list, this new enhancement that we've added to our system. Let's go ahead and dive right in and let's play around with it so we can see exactly what is this and how do merchants need to use this to make sure that they can qualify for the best rates that are out there. So, going back to my browser, we are going to my demo account. So I'm going to sign in. One thing I will note to our partners that are on this call, if you guys don't have a demo account today, let us know. I'm more than happy to have you built one so that you can have access and get a good understanding on how the system works. And if you do want to play around with this new product list feature, you can do so. All right, so we're in my demo account. One thing that you might notice right away is I have this message center on here. All of our merchants were notified of this new product list feature that's currently in our message center at the time of this recording. So you can also find some good information there right in your PayTrace account. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this account drop down, and I'm going to click on this enhanced data menu. Now, to make sure that we are set up to do everything level 3 and more, there are two things that we're going to need to do. Number one is put in some tax information. So we'll want to have the merchant put in their tax ID, simple, and then whether or not company is tax exempt. Now, some feedback that we've gotten is that this isn't always black or white. So we'll probably have some future iterations and enhancements on this. But for right now, it's a yes or no, tax exempt or not. Now, The good meaty part of this is the actual product list. So, for those of you that know, for every single level three transaction, line item detail needs to be remitted, right? What are we selling? What products and services is going into this transaction? If you're doing this manually on every single individual transaction, at a minimum, it probably takes about 5 minutes. Because there is a lot of data. There's usually about 20 to 25 fields of data that needs to be filled out for level three. What the product list is doing is we're taking out that manual effort by having the merchant put in their products and services up front so that when these transactions take place, they don't have to go ahead and manually do that every time. In fact, they don't even need to select it. And I'll tell you what I mean by that here in a sec. So my fake business, Sam's Golf World, we sell golf things and not a lot of golf things. You can see we've got about 7 different products from golf balls to clubs to gloves. So what I've done is I've uploaded all of these. It's got 5 sections on here. So what's the name of the product? What is the product code or the SKU? Commodity code. Commodity codes is just something you can find online on any government site. Hopefully, merchants understand what the commodity code on what they're selling is. But if you need to look that up, there's, a quick search engine will fix that. And then what is the unit of measure? This one's kind of cool. So golf balls, I sell them by the packs. So that's what I sell packs. It could be sets, pallets, pounds, ounces, units, uh, right? Unit of measure is kind of broad. It's really whatever that might look like. So put in the unit of measure and then what that cost per unit is. So a pack of golf balls is $3. Right? Very, very simple. This is kind of a broad example. Um, so what you'll do is you'll go ahead and add each of these, and then we'll go ahead and prioritize them. So what is sold most often versus least often? So I actually don't sell a lot of gloves. That's at the bottom, maybe. I'll just move that one up. But I sell a ton of golf balls. So we're going to prioritize this. Now, what happens, team, is that when that merchant runs a credit card transaction that is eligible for level three, we're going to look at the total amount of that sale and we're going to reference that against their product list. And rather than make the merchant manually go in and type in all that information, we're going to take the different values that are in their product list and attach that. We're going to apply that data to the actual transaction itself, right? So we're using a lot of back-end business logic um, based on, kind of the algorithm, the arithmetic, if you will, of all these unit costs and applying that to the transaction. So essentially, right, we're still making this automated for the merchant, but this is true, real, accurate things that the merchant's selling, right? Um, Now, I will say some merchants have a lot of things that they sell, much more than 7, sometimes hundreds or thousands. Um, I don't want merchants spending hours and hours plugging in information. Nobody wants that. The goal of this is to make things more efficient. So the cool thing is that you set this up one time and then you don't really have to worry about it. Right? You can adjust this further as you go forward. Um, but what's nice is that a lot of initial feedback that we got when we rolled this out a couple months ago was that this is not tenable for merchants that have thousands of products. So we listened to your feedback and immediately we made some adjustments to this. So now we've actually added on this import enhanced data feature. You know what? Let me save my changes. Thank you, PayTrace, for letting me know that I didn't save that. And we're going to go to this import page. This is the new cutting edge stuff. We just released this week. It's gone through rigorous testing to make sure that everything works and doesn't break. And this is really cool. So this is essentially the ability to upload a template of up to 5,000 different items. So if, a merchant has a kind of a database of this information, you can just export that into this template, upload it into PayTrace, and then that's going to be here within our system. We have our own template build, so all you need to do is just download this, open it up. Here, actually, I had it pulled up already, and it's just 6 columns, right? So those 5 that we looked at earlier, plus an additional optional priority column. If these are already prioritized, great. If you want to put in custom prioritization on here, also great. So fill out that form. That'll be uploaded. Get rid of that. Uploaded here. Now, the really cool thing, unfortunately, I don't have a cool sample to show you at this moment, but if I hop over to our user guide, you'll get to see this. I thought this was really neat. If there are any errors, I'll zoom in a little bit for everybody to see this. If there are any errors in any of these lines that are uploaded, we're not going to go ahead and say this whole thing's bad, redo it. We're still going to take the products that were imported correctly. Those are going to be imported. And any that have either missing information or right improperly formatted information, we're going to have a little error code that pops up. And we're actually going to provide a file that can be downloaded of all of those rows with the errors so that the merchant can then correct those rows and then re-upload it. So I really like this. It's going to take away so much headache with kind of some of these upload import management tools that are just part of the solution. So this is really cool. This is going to make it so much more accurate and easy for especially some of these larger merchants to manage their level 3 data. So with that said, right, this is going to make it very simple. Again, I think like the main benefits to this is we're going to save you on a lot of that manual data entry. Now, here's to say the manual entry is still going to be the most accurate way to submit level 3 data. We definitely want to encourage that when it's applicable. Um, so we still have that ability. You can still manually type that in, but this is going to save so much time and energy, and it's still going to be very accurate. So just taking a few minutes up front, if you're right bringing on a new account, have them take carve out 30 minutes tops to go ahead and get their product list and their tax IDs set up. It's going to save them hours of time in the future. If you're an existing merchant, just go into your account and make some adjustments and make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, so that's the demo. I do have some screenshots on here for anybody that does the account builds for PayTrace. If you're one of our sales partners, um, we used to have this autofill box for level 3. That's gone away. It's been replaced with enabling the product list box on the onboarding process. Just best practice, just go ahead and check the box every single time. We want to make sure that everything that can qualify for level 3 will, and having this enabled is going to help ensure that. So, with that said, if you were on our previous webinar, you didn't get to see this because we didn't have this data yet. We have data. Most importantly, we have rates. So if anybody's curious about how this has changed or what's being affected, this is a current chart. Um, Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you'd like to. This was updated October 18th by Visa. We also have updated our website. So if you go to PayTrace's website and we go to under payment solutions, you'll see this menu for interchange optimization. This whole page has now been updated. So we have more updated numbers, more updated data. We have some information on CEDP, but most importantly, MasterCard and Visa has been updated for their October rate changes. Um, and you can see it for those of you, again, that are kind of those interchange junkies, you'll notice level 3 went down. It actually went down 15 basis points. It used to qualify at 1.9%. It's actually gone down to 1.75%. So for those of you that are utilizing the product list, you're probably seeing some additional benefits. Now, Visa is charging 5 basis points for CEDP. There's a cost to this. So the net is actually 10 basis points. But regardless, it's going down, which we love. And that also applies to the business cards, right? That are now eligible for what they call product 3, level 3 is synonymous. They didn't used to be, right? So the rates for these types of cards has also gone down. Now, if you're not doing this, right, there's kind of a high cost of getting downgrades or non-qual. So that's why, shameless plug, use PayTrace. We're going to give all the tools to make sure that our merchants have access to the best possible rates. And if you'd like, these tables are downloadable. We have them in the forms of PDFs. So go right on our website, download them, share them with your clients, have them as a resource. We do try to keep these as updated as possible. So take advantage of this. Okay, just some FAQs that I've been hearing that I wanted to add on to this. Big one is, are there any actions that merchants need to take to enroll in CEDP verification? The answer is no. You don't need to actually reach out to Visa for this. This is something that happens automatically when merchants start adding in level 3 data. So as long as they're submitting level 3 data, which again, if you're using PayTrace, is going to happen very easily, there is nothing that merchants need to do, right? Once they get a month's worth of data that's been sent through, Visa then will verify that, and then they're good to go. Next up, does this new CEDP program also apply to MasterCard transactions? The answer is no, right? CEDP is a Visa program, so MasterCard hasn't made any changes yet, right? Speculation whether or not they will. Um, so this is a Visa program, but because this product list enhancement is such a big deal and it's making our solution even better, we're also applying this to all MasterCard eligible transactions as well. So in the future, if MasterCard does decide to do something similar, we're going to be ready. But regardless, right, we've got some good tools in place to make sure our merchants are doing everything right. This one's a big one, right? What is needed for merchants processing via API? So we have an API guide for any merchants that are using this so that they can make sure that all of the correct fields are being populated through their integration. Um, what's great about our API is a lot of merchants are already sending in line item data through whatever they're doing. So we're just going to take that and apply that into the transactions. However, it's always great to have an additional safety net. So I recommend anybody that's using this as an integration to log into PayTrace's UI, right? Go into the virtual terminal and just update their product list so that if there is missing information on that transaction, we can make sure that we're filling in the gaps when that's necessary. And then lastly, right, kind of the biggest question that we got on our initial release, can merchants upload a bulk list of products at once? Yes. That's what's really cool about today is I can actually talk about this. PayTrace recently added our product list import feature to the virtual terminal. So yes, use that, mass upload all of your products. We love that. Okay, so next steps. If you're a sales partner, work with your merchants to help assisting these product lists, right? You guys are the trusted advisors. You have the relationships with your clients. So please set them up for success with this. This is a really great tool. We want to make sure people are using it properly. If you are a merchant, get in there, start playing around with it. If you have questions, right, please reach out to our team. I'll put up some support information here momentarily. Review our blogs and resources. We're trying to make this as simple as possible for everybody. So check those out, right? We've got a lot of information out there. Should be very beneficial. And then lastly, provide feedback and enhancement requests. This is still a new feature for us, and things are going to change. Um, you can see we've already reiterated on our kind of, I don't want to say version 2, maybe version 1.1 on the product list. So as you have feedback, if you have questions, issues, enhancement requests, this could make it so much better, Sam. Let us know because we do take that into account when we are developing things out. That is the most popular information that we can get. So let us know. We like that feedback loop. So with that said, I've been seeing the little pinging on Zoom with the questions. Now's a great time. If you have anything that I didn't answer, send those in. I'm going to take 5 minutes here and respond to some of these. While I'm doing that, I'm going to leave some contact information up here so that if you do want to get a hold of either of our teams, you can find us here, sales@paytrace.com, support@paytrace.com, or give us a call. We're happy to do that. Um, Okay, so let's take a look at some of these questions. So I'll start off with the first one I have here from Brian with the new rollout. If your customer, right, as a sales partner, does not have the product list created, what will the rate be downgraded to? Um, I've tried to confirm online if the downgraded interchange is 2.7%. Yes, so that the rate tables that I just showed you, Brian, will show you what the different rates are. So if they're doing everything except level three correctly, they'll probably qualify at data rate one, which you are correct is 2.7 on most of those cards. So you can just match up whatever that card is to it. That's why you can see, right, the net positive of doing the product list is 95 basis points on those. And 95 basis points is um, significant. Well, let's say that's significant, right? It could equate to thousands and thousands of dollars of savings. William, once verified, how easy is it for a merchant to fall out of verified status? Or do they remain verified for a period of time and then get re-reviewed? That's a really great question, William. This product is, or this new CEDP thing is so new, we're not exactly sure. I think the thought is that once they're verified, they're probably doing everything right unless they switch things up. Um, I haven't seen anybody fall out of verified status yet, but it's still so new. So, like I said, I recommend just kind of keeping your fingers on the pulse of CEDP if you are a merchant or you have merchants that are verified. It's kind of just a good best practice to stay apprised on their status. You should be able to find out that information through the processor. So Cheryl's saying, I need to know how a merchant providing services with products will use the product list slash how will the list design for services, for example, like a tile company for installation, or for a golf company like classes or sessions, or we'll say lessons, maybe tea times. Yeah, I like that. So with services, right, you can have a mix. Really, they need some type of they will need a commodity code. So I'd recommend looking on some of those government websites on how they would classify some services as a commodity. Um, we can have our team look at that if you have any questions in particular. I can maybe see if we have a resource for that. Um, but yeah, just kind of whatever the SKU, the internal product code that they'd use for that service, and put it in that product list. All those need to be applied there, and they will be applied to transactions as it's appropriate. How many items can a merchant be loaded? So, to my knowledge, we don't have a cap on the product list itself. On the import tool, we max out the file at 5,000 lines. So, if a merchant has more than 5,000 lines, just put in the initial 5,000, get those loaded. From feedback that we've gotten, is it goes pretty quickly. And then any additional, just upload an additional file is how we're recommending it. And these do apply to all transactions. It's not just card not present, it's also card present. It's basically anything that's using the gateway product list will apply to that. How are we doing on time? Really quick. We're a little bit over. I'll take a few more questions and then I will follow up with anything that we don't get to answer here live today. Christian had a question here. Can the mid references uh, their particular product, which is uploaded in the ED section rather than a randomized product attached to a product? Future iteration, Christian. Yeah. So for right now, the product list is just going to use its own business logic to apply the correct product to the transaction. We will have again, some enhancements in the future so that merchants might be able to have a little bit more control into exactly what's being applied if they have that imported. But for right now, right, we're just using the business technology to make that as seamless and efficient as possible for our merchants. So great feedback, Christian. I definitely recommend if you do have those enhancement requests, let us know, especially specific use cases. We'd love to hear that. Oh, okay. Here's a good one. Can the merchant use one commodity code for all of its products and still qualify for level three? The answer should be yes, especially if that is the commodity code. Now, if they're just putting in a random commodity code, I don't recommend that because Visa is smart and they will see like you're using a commodity code for two completely different products. That's not their actual commodity code. Again, the other thing is we don't know exactly how the AI tool is being worked to verify stuff. So far, we haven't had any really any issues with merchants sending in good information that have been saying unverified. Um, so my response is put in the accurate commodity code for the products and services that are being sold, and there shouldn't be issues. Kim saying under the impression merchants don't have to fill out the enhanced data and that most of it was done in the background. Yes, that's how kind of the previous solution was being utilized. But with these new rules, this is the way that we need to do compliance with Visa. So again, with this product list, it's basically upload everything once. We're doing the enhanced data once, and then our technology is leveraging the correct data to make sure that it is done more or less automatically in the background. All right, I'll take two more questions and then we'll shut this down. A question from Erwin. If a merchant does not utilize the product list, how they would be affected by these changes? Will PayTrace do anything to help ensure merchant CDP verification? Erwin, thank you for that question. Yeah, if a merchant doesn't do the product list, they're setting themselves up to not have access to some of these rates. Um, there have been some questions. Well, we could move to another product. From what we've gathered, there's not really any other solutions that are addressing CEDP other than a full-fledged manual upload. So I can say pretty confidently, PayTrace has the best option for CEDP compliance to make sure that that data is being added. Um, Definitely, take a few minutes, put in a product list, get some data in there, and that will get you the best chance of success for these best rates. And then Leanne is just asking if you had a product list of, let's say, 4,000 items to an already existing product list, what's that going to do to the existing? It's going to keep the existing products in there where it's not deleting or overriding them. So you can either, Leanne, delete the existing product list and then start from scratch, or just add on the additional products to their already existing product list. Either way is fine. All right. Team, thank you so much for these questions. I appreciate the engagement, the interaction. I do see some questions that are coming here right at the end. I will take some time later today or by the end of the week to get some responses on this. If you are watching the recorded session on our YouTube channel, feel free to drop any comments on the YouTube video, and our team will check that out and respond to you as well, or just reach out again to the contact information I have up here on the screen right now. Again, thank you all. Have a fantastic holiday season, and I'm sure we'll have some more level 3 and CEDP webinars coming up in the future.